Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
No breaks. No breaks. No fear. No fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Well, it took until June, but we had a couple of firsts in British Speedway this season. A first superheat and a first win for Peterborough.
Harris, the hero! Palmtoft wins it! And the Crendon Panthers win their first Premiership meeting of the year!
Chris Harris, the hero at the East of England Arena. We'll hear from Bomber in just a little bit. We've also got interviews with the two team managers as well, Simon Stead and Rob Lyon. Plus, there was defeat for Wolves at the National Speedway Stadium. We'll bring you the thoughts of Mark Lemon and Peter Adams as the Aces finally put that Wolves hoodoo to rest. For a week at least.
And at this moment in time, things are going well.
Our special guest this week is Ipswich team manager Ritchie Hawkins. The Ipswich Witches are Heat 15 last heat decider specialists, and that was the case recently last week when they took on the Kings Lynn Stars. We'll reflect on that meeting and look ahead to the Premiership Pairs, which takes place at Foxhall this Thursday. It's a cracking lineup. We'll run through all of that in detail very soon. And we've got some reaction from the Championship as well. We'll speak to Jason Edwards, who's having a busy time at the moment, Plymouth's Garry May, and we'll also hear from Stuart Dixon, Kyle Howarth, and we catch up with Joe Alcock and see how he's doing after that bad crash a couple of weeks ago. All to come on No Breaks, No Fear.
No breaks, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
So all that and much more to come this week on No Breaks, No Fear. My special guest this week is the team manager of the Ipswich Witches, who were top of the Premiership until Bellevue managed to get back on top of the perch on Monday. But he is Ritchie Hawkins. Hi, Ritchie.
Hi, Ian. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you along and get an update on everything happening at Foxhall, because it's been a busy time. We're going to talk about the Pairs meeting, which is this Thursday very soon, and of course your matches over the last week or so, and of course more meetings coming up over the next week as well. But just overall for Ipswich, quite a contrast to last season. Everything seems to be clicking mostly for you now at the Witches. As I say, top of the league until Monday, but you've got a match in hand on Bellevue, and you've got a former world champion who's delivering massive scores week in, week out.
Yeah, it's been a great start to the season, really, in the league. One disappointment at home to Sheffield, but it's still very early days. But it is nice to get to the top of the league, even at any point. So yeah, good to be there, especially after last year, which was really tough. And I think positivity is coming back around Ipswich now. Hopefully, the fans are sort of getting back behind us, and it's been a tough few months for them, and with last year, and then obviously the cup campaign was pretty terrible as well. So really to start the league well and see the progress and see the boys, they're getting better. I don't think we're anywhere near where we could be, but to be winning meetings without really, I think, performing is a very good sign at this time of the year.
And of course, there's a long way to go before the trophies are handed out, as we well know. And actually finishing top of the league, whilst that gives you an advantage going into the playoffs, it does all boil down to that. But getting these wins on the board must surely breed confidence within the side, but also, as you say, within supporters as well, who are going to be more excited to come down the following weeks and track your progress and will you on to success again. Yeah,
it's good. I mean, we don't want to be like we were last year, where even now we were already at this stage of the season chasing the fourth spot, and we were struggling already. So it's nice to be in the playoff race. We're in a decent position coming up. Sort of, we've got Peterborough home and away next week, and then we're nearly there at halfway through, and we're looking to be in a good position. But yes, as you say, it's really about getting everyone in form, ready for the playoffs. But you need to be in them, and you need to be in a position to make the playoffs. And probably don't want to go into them last couple of meetings desperate for points to get into the fourth spot. If we can go in there in good form, in a good position, then that will help us.
As you'll know, maybe from last year, you can go along and build a team and things maybe fall apart, unexpected things happen and your season can be turned upside down. For you, what have been the surprises so far this season in the Premiership?
Probably Peterborough. We went there for the first two meetings and that was very good. They was very good. I don't think we was bad. I think they was very good, but they had the buzz still from last season, and I haven't been to Peterborough since then. But it seems to have dropped away. And I obviously had a brilliant result last night. Great result from to get to beat Sheffield at home, which Sheffield are the best team at the moment. It's a brilliant result for them. Yeah, I think that's probably a surprise. Peterborough struggling as they have done, but with their riders, they can click in at any time, really, or their team. But for us, I think it's kind of gone the way we would have expected. We started the team with some riders out of form from last season. We're in bad form, so you can't expect them to then just go straight in. Oh, suddenly they've signed for us, go straight in March, April, and be flying. It doesn't quite work like that. But we're kind of building up nicely, and led by Doyley, like you said, who's been absolutely superb so far. It's great to have that number one. That Chris has spent a lot of money. We're Ipswich is run, and we're run on a budget, and we're run for the club to be sustainable and run properly, I would say. And he's put a big investment in there for Doyley, and it's certainly at the moment, I think it's paying off, and hopefully now we're getting some wins and being successful, the crowds will pick up, because I think there's been a couple of disappointing ones this year. More so than last season, I think. So hopefully the crowds will pick up, get behind us, see we've got a great team, and that Chris can recoup obviously what is put out there on Doyley.
Ritchie Hawkins, team manager at Ipswich Witches. His side were not in action on Monday, but Peterborough were, and they defeated Sheffield in the Premiership's first ever superheat, as the reigning champions finally got off the mark for 2022. It was watched by Pete Ballinger from Clean Cut Sports.
2 laps gone. It's Palmtoft out front. Holder looking back for his team partner. But Chris Harris on the charge here. And Harris trying to do Toby Mushelek. Here comes Harris, urged on by the Panthers fans. Can Harris get around the outside? He looks to be making the pass. And Chris Harris is through into third spot. He's now going after Jack Holder, but this will do for the Crendon Panthers. They're half a lap away from victory. Harris, the hero, Palmtoft wins it, and the Crendon Panthers win their first Premiership meeting of the year. Sensational stuff from the Crendon Panthers. Chris Harris fighting his way through from the back. The main grandstand in raptures. Sensational stuff from Harris.
We had to wait until June, but we have our first superheat. Thanks very much to Clean Cut Sports for bringing the coverage of it there. Let's hear from the man who won that battle then with Toby Musilak and got the win over the line, the first one in the league for 2022 for the Peterborough Panthers. Chris Harris.
Chris Harris, that was something new for us and very spectacular, and what a superheat it was for you to come through and win it for Peterborough.
Yeah, it was, I'd eat 15, I thought I might have just done it, but wasn't quite there, and then, the superheat, whatever they call it, worked well. Off the start, I think the clutch must have slipped or something, because I just did not move, and I was like, oh no, and I seemed off the in front. I thought, I've got to do something. I thought I'd just go and hopefully something will work, and after 2 laps it built my speed up, and managed to get one of them, and try to push Jack, but we got the 4-2 or whatever it was that we needed.
6-3 we think, but
we'll take it whatever it was.
On the meeting itself, you won Heat 4 really fast, won it by a mile, but then something went wrong with the bike after the race, and that seemed to hold you back for a while. Yeah,
we had to use a spare bike for the next 2 rides. We changed everything from coil to everything, and then we found out it was the cutout. So we managed to get it done for Heat 13. Obviously won that one, and then the super heat we managed to get there in the end.
That must do Peterborough as a whole massive good, because we've been saying for weeks and weeks, when are Peterborough going to win a meeting? Well, they've now won one. That must do you a real good.
Yeah, hopefully the boys can build on that confidence. Obviously some of the boys are still struggling with some engine issues and that, but hopefully they can sort it out for the next one, and we'll work as a team to get everyone going.
Well, there's some spectacular actions tonight. Well done, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What a way to win the meeting for the Peterborough Panthers. With us is the team boss at Ipswich Speedway, but a Peterborough lad himself at heart. And Ritchie, what a way to finish. And we have our first superheat, and more importantly, I think Peterborough get their first big win on the board.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I had a text. I don't suppose they finished their warm-up lap before I had a text from a friend of mine who's a big Peterborough fan, giving me a bit of stick about them getting a win, because I've been giving him a bit of stick lately. And my dad went up last night, said it was a cracking meeting. He thought he really enjoyed it. So, yeah, extra drama. I mean, personally, not a great fan of it, but if it can bring anything to bring more excitement into it, or another race, I think that's great. I think if I was Stead or Sheffield, you've gone away from home and you've got a draw. I think that's in Speedway. That's a great result. I think a draw. It's one of the few sports where I think a draw actually provides a lot of excitement in Speedway. So, is it really necessary? I don't know, but obviously worked out well for Peterborough last night. But I think I'd be gutted at Sheffield to go away from home and get a draw and then still walk away with 1 point, the same as I would have done if I'd have got lost by 6. So there's that. I think it's a consideration, something maybe they'll work with over next winter. But yeah, we've had a lot of talk in our meetings. It seems to be every single meeting they'll be like, oh, we might get a super heat tonight. So if it is being talked about a lot, creating a lot of interest, then maybe it's doing a good job.
So you'd prefer more points if you're the losing side in a super heat, that you get an extra bonus point for making it to that, to sort of differentiate it from a general 6-point loss, that there is some sort of bonus to making a super heat? Maybe,
yeah. I think if you're the away team, the advantage going into the Heat 15 is obviously with the home team, because you've got the best 2 riders on the home track, so it is harder on the away team. I think it's like any new rule, I guess. You're trying it out, and there might be tweaks to it, and it might work great, and it might not. I suppose that's what you're trying. But yeah, it's another race for the fans as well, which I think is obviously a positive. It's obviously, it's the cost of living and everything. It's expensive at the moment, and we want to keep the fans interested and coming through, wanting to spend their money. So if they get another heat, then that's great for them.
Let's hear from the team managers of the two sides involved then. We'll hear from Simon Stead in just a couple of moments, and he's going to be reflecting on where it went wrong for Sheffield, who had an 8-point lead at one point in the meeting. First, though, let's hear from Rob Lyon. A victorious Rob Lyon, the first time we've said that in the Premiership this season. Here he is, speaking with Dave Rowe.
Rob Lyon, a tremendous meeting, a fantastic advert for the sport, first and foremost, but you must be so relieved and proud to finally be off the mark in those circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, after probably halfway through we were 8 points down, I was like, we were clinging on to their shirt tails, and I just couldn't see where a win was coming from, if I'm honest. But the way the boys responded in the last half of the meeting was pretty much what we saw last year many times. And what a fantastic last heat. I mean, super heat, Bomber, Tofty made a superb start, and Bomber did what Bomber does. And we needed that big time.
Just a quick question. Why is, I'm sure if you knew the answer you'd probably tell me, but why is Hans better away from home at the moment? Here he looks like he's struggling for pace. You saw him at Kings Lynn ride really well. What's the difference there? What's going on?
Well, I think it's... I mean, last week he was in the mix in a lot of the races, but just not quite quick enough. Probably not quite so much tonight, but it is down to engines. It's down to engines and what he feels is working, what's not working, and sometimes you pick the engine you think is going to work and it's not quite there, and then it's back to the drawing board, etc. But it's a bit of a head scratcher, but he's experienced enough to get it right, and I'm sure he will.
Finally, of the boys who have been finding it tough, better signs from Scott and also from Ulrich, his best performance here by a long way.
Absolutely, yeah, both of those boys rode really well today. It was a good team effort, if I'm honest, but yeah, I'm pleased for both of them because they've both been struggling for points, and they were superb tonight.
Simon said that was a hugely dramatic meeting, a very entertaining meeting, but I guess from your situation, a really cruel end.
Yeah, disappointing. We sort of fell short in the latter heats, two 5-1s against later on in the meeting. Didn't do us any favours at all. Can't quite believe, you do so much in a meeting. They had to use a tactical substitute, and we nullified that. And just 2 late 5-1s really put us back on the back foot. But I think we did well to take it to super heats. We just fell a little bit short, so we have to take that on the chin. unfortunately, and we'll go again next time out.
There were a number of close decisions on the line decisions, and clearly there was one in Heat 8 that you weren't happy with when the two rising stars were battling, and you feel that Dan, who made some really good gates tonight, held off Jordan Jenkins.
Yeah, I didn't feel it. I know he did, and there's video evidence, and there's also photographic evidence that Dan Thompson won that race or got that position by probably half a bike length or so. So, in our opinion, from here it wasn't close. I appreciate you've already said that from where you were, it was a little bit closer. But unfortunately, you know, all the end of the meeting, the super heats could have been avoided if that one result would have gone our way. But look, like I said, we have to take that on the chin. It's disappointing. We do get something out of it, but we know we need to improve.
When we have a TV meeting, the referee has access to the replays to look at these close finishes or exclusions or whatever. Is there a way of, if it's possible to make it happen for non-TV meetings that are all being filmed?
I think, yeah, it's probably not my job to try and find all the solutions. It's disappointing. But you know, if they had timing devices on the bikes, then that would be a fairly easy solution. But you know, that probably has to come from the top, and we haven't got that. Like I said, it is what it is today. It's just disappointing that we go home feeling a little bit hard done to by a referee's decision when it's been such a good meeting. You know, there's been plenty of excitement, matches been to and fro-in, but ultimately, in my opinion, it came down to that one refereeing decision.
Sure. Quick word on Thursday, back in the pairs, heading to Ipswich. Slight change to your line-out for that meeting, but looking for a big result at Ipswich.
Yeah, Adam's really riding well at the moment, and so is Toby. Jack's got a full workload on, and you know, we have to try and accommodate our riders where we can, and we have the opportunity to use other riders in this competition, so there's no reason not to put a couple of guys who are really in top form out for us.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, still top riders, and of course teams can change around their lineups, and we're seeing that this time round in the Premiership Pairs. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit, because we're joined by Ritchie Hawkins, the team manager at Ipswich Witches. Ipswich is the venue for round 2 of the British Speedway Premiership Pairs this Thursday. But back to that fixture on Monday with Peterborough getting their first win. Just a word about team management, Ritchie. We saw there Sheffield were 8 points up and perhaps cruising a little bit. Then we see Peterborough coming back at the side there in front, and we see often in Speedway. What do you do as a team manager to try and manage the defence of that lead that you have when you're in that situation? Obviously, there's not much you can do in terms of changing the personnel around, but how do you keep the team ahead and try and defend that lead as best you can?
That's a bit of a situation I've been in many times. I think it seems to be a bit of a thing. Obviously, Sheffield did it to us. You know, when Sheffield won at ours, we were 8 up, and they come back, and I knew they were going to come back strong. I think you know the team is going to come back, because especially in the Premiership, the teams are so even. You don't really get that many sort of teams, big batter-ins or big wins. So yeah, it's kind of keeping everyone focused, not relax off. Keep pushing, keep everyone pushing, because when your standard drops a little bit, that's when the other team will come straight back into it, because they're not going to. They're trying to push to get back in. They've got a tactical substitute, and certainly when you're using when you're away from home, the home team gets like a tax serve. That's hard as well, because obviously that makes them so much stronger being on the home track. So yeah, it'd be a tough one for Steady, but I'm sure it'd be quite consoled in the fact that they're in a good position, and I'm sure he's very confident of them going forward.
And really there you're alluding to the fact that just keeping that concentration and keeping their minds on the job. with the riders, and we had Sam Masters on last week, and he was saying that often in a meeting he's just so involved and concentrating on his next ride that he doesn't always have an appreciation of what his score is or what the actual score of the meeting is even. He's just focused on going out there and winning. But do you have to keep the riders on track and focus their minds on the significance of a particular heat?
Yeah, I think you can do. I think some riders are a lot more aware than others. But yeah, that'd be something you'd be talking about as a team, I suppose, certainly before the meeting, during the meeting, when you're getting together. I think as a rider, I'd have said I would always have a good handle on whether you're winning close or getting beaten. Certainly from when I was riding, I'd always know that. I might not know whether we're 6 up or 4 up, but you'd know if you're in the meeting or if you're doing well. So yeah, I suppose keeping everyone focused. Look, we're doing well, but keep going, or they're coming back, and this is kind of they're focused on their riding. The riders they've got to be focused on their racing. So I kind of guess that's the team manager's job to make sure everything, everyone's aware of what's going on.
Well, the other fixture on Monday night was at the National Speedway Stadium, where Bellevue finally ended their Wolverhampton hoodoo and went back to the top of the Premiership with a 51-39 win at the National Speedway Stadium. Mate Zagar scored a 15-point maximum for the Aces, who quickly recovered from conceding a 5-1 in Heat 1 to take control of the meeting. Zagar was backed up by skipper Brady Kurtz on 10+1, whilst Sam Masters with 10+2 and Ryan Douglas with 10+1, both hitting double figures for Wolves, who missed out on a waypoint for the first time this season. Nick Morris was withdrawn for the visitors after suffering a badly grazed arm in a Heat 6 spill. We'll hear from the team managers in just a moment, but a little bit of rivalry maybe building up between yourselves and Mark Lemon. You're Bellevue top of the table. You've got a match in hand, and Ipswich went to the National Speedway Stadium and turned the Aces over just 10 days or so ago.
Yeah, I'm sure Lem will be very, very happy with that one. Obviously, and stopping Wolves taking a point away, which come the end of the season might be significant. Bellevue I think that change they've made, obviously bringing Mate Zagar in, is obviously made them a lot stronger. We were both weakened, I guess, last week on Eurosport when we was racing, but yeah, they're a good side again. So yeah, so are Wolves, and Sam's flying. So yeah, it's just everything. So I think it's all on the night, but they'll be very happy not to stop Wolves taking a point away, I'm sure.
Well, as far as Wolves are concerned, I think, with Peter Adams having so much experience of being a team manager over so many years, he plays his cards close to his chest, doesn't he? But he knows that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And I think, he's always very quick to, even if Wolves are at the top of the league, to calm things down and say, nothing's won yet. The trophies get handed out in October. It's all about the long game. And as long as you're there or thereabouts, he's always happy with that.
I'm sure Pete's got everything all worked out. Yeah, absolute. Yeah, a legend, isn't he? So, we was talking when we did the press day at Bellevue at the start of the season, and how many league titles he's won. I think he's averaging one every 3.5 years or something crazy like that. So he's there's nothing he's not seen. So I'm sure he's got everything worked out, everything under control, and I'm sure Pete's got it sussed.
Okay, well, we'll hear from Pete Adams in just a few moments' time. And first, let's hear from the Bellevue team manager, Mark Lemon, who's been reflecting on that win against Wolves, ending that Wolves hoodoo with Lee Wild.
Mark, an emphatic win for the Aces tonight, and it's one that puts you ahead of the Wolves after 3 long years. You must be glad to finally get that behind you.
Didn't really focus on it too much. Obviously, the past is the past, and we just got to focus on right now and look towards the future. So, like I said, we've sort of strengthened up in recent times since our last year, and we're focused really on the league campaign. It's been a long time since Bellevue have won the league, and it's a ambition and goal for us that we've set. And at this moment in time, things are going well.
That's a statement victory. You said in the press conference after the meeting you could measure yourself against Wolves. Where do you think this leaves the Aces?
In a pretty good position. Obviously away form, we probably got to look at working on that and improving, getting more points on, because that's going to be, at the end of the day, between sort of top sort of 4 teams. That will be the difference of the end of the season positioning, and you want to sort of go into the playoffs. And I know it's probably early to talk about playoffs, but we've done sort of 4 of our 5 sort of 50% of our home league fixtures. So it's like I said, tonight was a real key indicator to see where we're at. We've got Sheffield next coming up in a couple of weeks for a home match before obviously we go to Wolverhampton next Monday. So it was, like I said, it was a true valuation to see where we're at. I think we passed that, and hopefully things can keep improving. Having a 1-7, finally sort of on track tonight, for a couple of weeks made a big difference. The boys are gelling really well, so it's a really good vibe.
There's been some pleasing progress from both reserves, I'd say. Norwick Bloodhorn and Tom Brennan really coming on. That must be pleasing as well, because it gives you strength at the bottom of the team. Yeah,
and I think Tom sort of having sort of a bit of a busy spell with his speedway at the moment, and maybe just not quite performing as he would like. But he's a young kid going places, and there's going to be little inconsistencies, sort of creeping into the game. So there's nothing really too much to worry about. But he's doing a great job there in the Rising Star berth. And young Norwick, probably unlucky not to get 5 points tonight. He was in second place in his last race and had a machine failure. So good signs. Like he's progressing really good. And for a kid that's just turned 18, in a foreign country, there's a lot to like about him. So if he keeps progressing the way he is, I think even coming towards the end of the season, we've got a real strong chance of progressing nicely.
And just finally, I want to touch on Matty Zagar, because he seems like every time someone speaks to him, he professes how much he likes being back in British Speedway, how good it is being here. How positive has it been for you having him back in the team?
Well, it's just been fantastic to hear him say that, and enjoy Speedway again, because it's you get carried away with the pressures of the sport sometimes, and it can sort of get you down. And I don't feel like I'm a manager that puts pressure on riders. In fact, I try and make it the opposite, and try and make it enjoy themselves, because they're going out there, they're laying their life on the line basically, and doing everything possible to score points and earn a living. So the last thing they need is added pressure. And it's just, if you can kind of get someone to enjoy that's being world class and still oozes class when he's on the racetrack, and it's just a delight to see. And I'm glad to see he's enjoying, because that was one of the main reasons we spoke about come back and enjoy your racing and see how it goes. And he's talking about carrying on for years to come now. So I'm not sure that's a good idea or bad.
No, Matt, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, and congratulations for tonight.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming for the Bellevue fans. Looking on social media, there's just such a sigh of relief, I think. It's a psychological barrier that's been overcome, I think, too, over Wolves. But what about Mark Lemon's opposite number, Peter Adams? He knows it's a marathon, not a sprint, but he's been reflecting on that with Mike Taylor from BBC Radio WM.
It was a hard-fought meeting, and you got to such a good start, but Bellevue were very strong.
Yeah, very strong. I mean, we knew before we kicked off, this would be a difficult fixture for us, because they've strengthened their team significantly with Zagar, and you saw the score he returned tonight. So difficult night, made more difficult when Nick Morris crashed out in his second ride. So he'll be out for a few days for sure with a nasty graze on his arm. But that'll affect our pairs selection at Ipswich on Thursday, of course, because he was due to be there. But Ryan Douglas will fill that spot now.
Yes, I was going to mention that actually. I mean, Ryan is stepping up with good pace for it. He's going to step into that role.
Yeah, he rode well tonight, Dougie. And if you look at the score chart, we won the second half of the meeting. From Heat 8 onwards. We held the advantage right through to the end, but they got some strong riders in this team, and they'll be a handful around here all season long for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we saw there were actually a lot of quite close races in amongst them all, but they got a lot of the 50-50s, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, not enough race winners is the bottom line. They held sway there, but we're not downhearted at all. We had a great performance at Sheffield last week. I thought we were very creditable here. We haven't taken any points, but as a lot of the boys keep saying, it's not now that you need to be in form. It's at the end of the campaign. We need to keep accumulating points for sure.
Yeah, and just, I mean, a last thought, with the league starting to take shape, and what we're seeing is that most of the teams remain very close together. A lot of close matches. I mean, I think there's been a draw, going to a superheat at Peterborough at the minute. So, to my layman's eye, there doesn't seem an awful lot to choose within the teams over the piece.
No, I think Peterborough probably make some sort of change, I would think, soon to stiffen themselves up. And you'll be a brave bloke, I think, to bet too much money on who's going to be occupying those bottom two positions, because it's at the minute the league is very competitive, which is good. That's what we want.
Let's have a look back at some of the fixtures from last week. Thursday, it was a bit of a local derby, another Heat 15 thriller at the Adrian Flux Arena. Kings Lynn 43, Ipswich 47. That must have been a sweet one for you, Ritchie.
Yeah, it's always brilliant for us to beat Kings Lynn. Yeah, it's great. When you win away from home, and yeah, it's good. There is a rivalry there. It's a genuine one, and so it's. Yeah, it is sweet, especially, they had a little bit of a better of us. Obviously in the Cup, I think we were well under strength, but to go there, and it's really helped our league campaign. But yeah, just to beat them anyway is always nice.
And as you know, we keep talking about Jason Doyle, but he has been rock solid. But then other key performances as well. Perhaps Troy Batchelor, worth a mention. Of course, he's going to be one of your pairs on Thursday too. And he had a bit of a tricky season last year, maybe because of the break with COVID and everything and coming back into things, and he wasn't really getting enough matches, he felt, and probably improved once he started doubling up, you would argue, last season. But this year we seem to be seeing the Troy of old coming back. Yeah,
he's coming back to make a lot of progress. I think Troy actually was one of the few boys, he was riding when not over here, and he had a really bad injury. So last season, probably not being busy enough, off an injury as well, doubly didn't help him. His confidence was down. But yeah, I don't think he's doing as much as we know he's capable of just yet. But there's certainly signs there. I think he's happier. I think he's progressing nicely into the season, and yeah, he's done well. He's done some really important results for us, and I think he well and truly sort of with them deserved his place in the team on Thursday at the Pairs. And yeah, the Pairs is a funny one for us because we got four riders that could probably make a case for being in the team. So it's a choice every week. It kind of don't pick itself.
For those who are not 100% familiar with the Ipswich lineup, and there's no reason why you would have to memorise every single team in the Premiership or indeed any league, by the way, but here's the current lineup. It's Jason Doyle, Danny King, Troy Batchelor, Paul Stark, Eric Riss, Ben Barker, and then you've also had Anders Rowe and Daniel Hume in the reserve berths there. So, a strong team, even though you've got youth in there, it's experienced youth. And Ben Barker was one of your team changes. You brought Ben into the side. He's had some great performances in the Championship, of course, for Plymouth, who are we'll talk more about in a little while because we've got Garry May coming up, an interview with him in just a while. But he's been doing great things with Plymouth and really enjoying his speedway at the moment. And I know he's enjoying being back at Foxhall.
Yeah, Ben's been brilliant. We know, what you're getting with Ben. We know where we are. We have a bit of a joke. It's not like when things are going tough, I was kind of bring Ben in, whether that's for a guest booking or in my first season as manager. Ben was probably the first guy I was involved with signing, and he turned the season around that year. He's brilliant. So he certainly loves his time at Ipswich. We get on well. I can work well with him, and he's certainly performing, and he has really helped. And I think he's riding Heat 14. Obviously, at Kings Lynn was the match-winning race, I guess. Doyley, he's that good, and he's at that stage where you kind of expect him to win. But when the reserve, who was riding injured as well, to be fair to Ben, steps up and win Heat 14 like he did, that was kind of set straight into Heat 15, took the pressure off a little bit because we went in there only needing a free, so that did help.
The other meeting last Thursday was the one between Sheffield and Wolves. Of course, Wolves were going for a hat-trick of victories over Sheffield so far this season, but it went down to Heat 15 at Ollerton as well. And Sheffield needed a 5-1 to snatch victory, and that's exactly what they got in Heat 15, 46-44. Don't come much closer than that. Jack Holder and Adam Ellis were the Heat 15 heroes. The interesting point there is that Jack Holder at that point had only scored 6 points through the course of the evening. You had other riders that you might have argued the fact that they perhaps deserved their place in Heat 15. I know there was a big, long discussion in the pits with Simon Stead and the riders as to who exactly would go out there and do the job, but Jack Holder delivering right at the moment when he needed it most.
Yeah, I guess that's why if you've got a GP rider in, and I think he's at number 1 now at the moment, you're going to back them in the big races, and obviously Steady's made the right call there. Throughout the night, sometimes if you're just looking at the scores, that maybe that's a true reflection of what's happening on the track, and obviously he's made the right call and he's done the job there, which is what you want from your big name riders. So Wolves are a very good team. I think Sheffield's a very good team, and I think nowadays obviously you see a lot more away victories or home defeats, and it's a lot more even. The boys are a lot more used because they race on the same track so regularly now. I don't think you have so much of a home advantage, so it is a lot on the night. Who's the best team on the night? And I think the league's very close. I think the standard of the league, I know Peterborough are a little bit tailed off at the bottom a little bit, but they've got more than enough time to pull that back in, and I think it's going to be the final table will be very close throughout the year.
And racing at Sheffield, of course, there is quite a bit of home advantage there. You always notice the riders that have had experience of that track know exactly where to put the bike. It's not, there is. I mean, I think every track does have its quirks, but Sheffield being so fast, being so specific with where you need to put the bike, as an away team, when you go there, do you know that you're up against it? Perhaps if you haven't got riders with that experience of that place.
Yeah, it is a tough place to go. It always has been. Big fast track. I think both bends are slightly different in shape. It's kind of a different type track. So yeah, you want the experience there to do it, and I think you need to go there as confidence as win a confident team because of the track surface. It's quite grippy. Obviously, it's fast. So if you go there with a team that's slightly down on confidence already, it's going to make it kind of like amplifies that going to Sheffield. So and they've certainly got a good team this year as well, very solid throughout. So I think they've obviously made a change this week with Jake coming in, which on paper and in theory should make them stronger again. But it depends on Jake getting back to where we all know he can be in the Premiership.
Of course, Jake was racing with you last season, so what does he bring to the team?
Yeah, Jake's had 2 great years with us, so I very much hope at some point he'll be back a part of Ipswich. Didn't quite work out last year, but very, very talented professional guy. So, he lost a bit of confidence and things didn't quite go for him last year, and he's building himself back up this year. And if he clicks in back to where I know he can be, I mean, Sheffield are looking a proper force.
That's Ritchie Hawkins, Ipswich team manager, and in a few moments we're going to have a look ahead to the Premiership Pairs. Round 2 takes place at Ipswich Foxhall Stadium on Thursday evening, with 2 of the best from each of the Premiership's 6 sides going head-to-head in a meeting that really is like Heat 13 and Heat 15, one after the other. And the team that comes out top will get another 12 points towards winning that Premiership Pairs Championship trophy. But more about that to come in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan. My guest in this episode is Ritchie Hawkins, the Ipswich team manager. Still to come, we've got interviews with Plymouth's Garry May, Jason Edwards, who's a man very much in demand at the moment across British Speedway for his reserve guest appearances. And we'll also hear from Joe Alcock as well, who was back at Newcastle Speedway in the pits at the weekend after suffering that horrific injury to his leg just a couple of weeks ago. So we'll hear how he's he's getting on and his plans on whether he's going to be getting back on a bike anytime soon or not. Clearly, he's got a long recovery yet, but he does have plans. Hear about that in just a while. Right now, let's talk about the Premiership Pairs competition, which returns for round 2 this Thursday at Ipswich's Foxhall Stadium. Now, Ritchie Hawkins, the Ipswich team manager, is with us, and he's not alone in shuffling his pack ahead of the second round of this contest. Of course, the scores roll over from round to round. We'll have a winner declared, if not before, certainly at the National Speedway Stadium in September when the Bellevue round takes place. That'll be the 6th and final round, of course. But for this week, we do have 1 or 2 team changes. Ritchie, can you talk us through your team? Because you have swapped out Danny King. Troy Batchelor comes into the side. Tell us about the choices you've made deciding your pair for this particular round on your home track.
I think really Doyley picks himself, certainly at the moment. And then there's a choice to make. Danny's not started the season great by any means. I think he's getting better now. He's got new engine and progressing. And for our league campaign, or if you like, I think it would have been good to give him another meeting to try his motor out, but it's not really the place to be doing it. So we want to do well in this pairs competition, and we didn't start well at Peterborough. So Troy's had a lot of Heat 15s, stepped up since I put him to number 5. He's really stepped up another level, and I think he deserves his shot. And but we also had another option with Eric, who was superb last week at home in our last home meeting, and as to be fair, he's been very good all season. So the choice I couldn't justify putting Danny in, no way. So the choice was between Eric and Troy, and I spoke to Eric at length about it. He's got no Redcar meetings this week, I don't believe. We've not had anything when we didn't have anything on Monday. So, the thoughts was, I said to him, go home, go to Germany, have a week with your family, and take a week off. And certainly happy to have Troy in the team. And then we'll look at it again when we're going to King's Lynn at the next round.
Because in Eric Riss, and we haven't really spoken about Eric, but he goes under the radar, but he is a world champion in long track, big on that scene, and they won the world team championship, didn't they? Germany in the long track recently, and if you're not on the long track radar, then he's one of the top riders in the world as far as that goes. Because you could potentially have 2 world champions in your team.
Yeah, but he's not. I don't think he's doing much long track this year. But it's funny, it made me laugh, and it was the world long track, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just doing a bit of long track, like it's nothing." And then comes back with another world title. I see him next week. I'm like, "Well, you got another world title then, mate." Yeah, so he's obviously got that mentality. If you can win a world title, whether that's long track, speedway, you must have a strong mentality and handle the pressure and everything. And I think he's been really well since coming in. I think, he's someone I would have liked to have had for a few years, same as Doyley, but not been possible. But yeah, he's fitting in well, and I think he's really enjoying his time at the team. I think, I didn't really know Eric that well before this season, but we seem to be building up quite a good relationship between ourselves, and he's been a pleasure, and I think he's going to get stronger and better throughout the season as well.
And it comes from good stock, of course. His dad's Gerd Riss. Many will remember him from way back when as well. Let's have a look at the full lineups then for round 2 of the Premiership Pairs at Ipswich. And here are the lineups. Bellevue, Mate Zagar, Brady Kurtz and Tom Brennan as the rising star. Each team has to track a rising star, of course, amongst their lineup. And that rising star must have at least one ride. Ipswich with Jason Doyle, Troy Batchelor and Daniel Hume. King's Lynn, Richard Lawson, Josh Pickering and Jake Mulford. Peterborough, Chris Harris, Hans Anderson and Jordan Jenkins. Sheffield with Adam Ellis, Tobias Musilak and Connor Mountain. And Wolverhampton will be with Sam Masters, Ryan Douglas and Leon Flint. So obviously, those are the lineups. A few changes there. I think Wolverhampton are as was, and I think King's Lynn as well. But the others have all made some tweaks and shuffling the pack for various reasons, as you've heard already in this podcast today. The Rising Stars have to have at least one ride, as I mentioned. We saw at Peterborough in round 1, the Rising Stars held on to for the last round of races in the later end of the meeting. That was because there was a threat of rain, and many held on until those final races. The weather forecast is going to be much different for this Thursday. Do you think there'll be a difference where the rising stars get used this time round?
Made complete sense to leave them till the final heats, because, to be honest, I didn't think we was going to get through the whole meeting. Thought it was going to be cancelled. I think it was heat 12, I believe, that then a result would go, and I thought if we can make it to heat 12, but obviously the rain stayed off, and yeah, we have to use them. So yeah, the last ride was a completely logical situation. Certainly a choice to make there, but with on our home track, especially with Danyan, I think he's already shown he's more than capable of beating some of them riders that he has beaten them already this year, and he's more than capable of beating some of them riders that are in the meeting. So yeah, I might obviously see how Doyle and Batch are going, but I think certainly wouldn't be scared of putting Danyan in at the moment, and he's certainly got a chance of scoring points.
Now, you do have home advantage, but that isn't always quite as much as perhaps you would hope, because at this level, the riders who are going to be visiting all know exactly what to expect of the Foxhall circuit, and you've got riders, just to single out one, Sam Masters, who was on a maximum going into the final heat on his last visit a few weeks ago, and plenty of other riders who are going to be in attendance who have got a lot of experience around the Foxhall circuit as well. So yes, you've got home advantage, but you're going to have to be on your guard.
Yeah, Sam was on a max till heat 15, and he does fly around Foxhall, but Nate flies everywhere at the moment, because I think he's topped the averages in both leagues, isn't he? So yeah, Sam's having a brilliant year. But yeah, it's a lineup full of big names. It'll be the strongest lineup we've had at Foxhall for a meeting for a good number of years, I believe. So yeah, hopefully everyone's out there backing it. Yeah, weather's good, track will be good. We've had some great racing. Every race is like a heat 15, so yeah, it should be a cracking meeting. But yeah, definitely on our home track, we want to win the meeting, and we want to start sort of. We're in fifth at the moment, and we need to get some points there for overall to get ourselves up, and yeah, so hopefully that will, we can take advantage of being at home.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And of course, you can't beat live speedway. The weather is going to be fantastic. If you haven't been to Foxhall for a while, get yourself down there. 7:30 the start time to see some of the best riders in British Speedway going head to head, heat after heat. As we say, it's like heat 13 or heat 15, one after the other, as all of the Premiership sides face each other through the course of the meeting. The side who have the highest scores at the end of the 15 heats go straight through to the final. And then there is a semi-final between the second and third place team to join whoever is the points scorer topper, and then they go into the final, and whoever wins that gets 12 points. Whoever comes second gets 8, and so it goes down, and that score is then carried along to the next round. And if you can't make it in person, you can watch it wherever you are in the world, thanks to the British Speedway Network, who are carrying a live stream. So a new dimension here, Ritchie.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I've seen bits of it, and was impressed with it, obviously. So yeah, seems like they're doing a good professional job, and I think it can only be a plus. I don't, if you're going to watch live speedway, I don't think it's taking anything off the gate. I think it's just increasing the amount of people that will watch speedway, and getting it out there. It's only a positive. The more coverage we can get, the more opportunity we can get for people to be watching. The more ways we can get people watching is brilliant, and just all positive to me, I think, about it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be commentating on BSN on Thursday. The show will start at 7 o'clock. We always do like a track walk, take you around the track, look at the circuit with one of the riders, and some pre-match interviews with the team managers, and all the rest of the stuff you would expect. And that'll be this Thursday, 7 o'clock, tapes up 7:30 on the British Speedway Network. Of course, you can be there in person at Foxhall Stadium this Thursday night for round 2 of the Premiership Pairs. The next action in the Premiership then will be on Monday, and just a look ahead to that, Ritchie, because you're in action, a fairly short hop for you. Peterborough lad, Ipswich at Peterborough at the East of England Arena. You've obviously given a little bit of stick to the Peterborough fans, a bit on social media. Scroll down for Peterborough with your snapshot of the league table, but you'll be hoping you don't have to eat your words on Monday.
Yeah, I live in Peterborough still. I'm back living sort of in the village just outside Peterborough where I grew up. So yeah. Obviously, I know a lot of the supporters through my dad and growing up at the club all the time. But it was a little bit of a joke, and we sort of. But it'd be nice, to be honest, to see Peterborough get up to 5th and Kingston to 6th. I think that'd be the perfect table for us. But
and then Wolves hosting Bellevue again. Wolves are a wounded animal, perhaps after being overhauled so comprehensively at the National Speedway Stadium. But going to Monmore again, another tricky track in the Premiership, and certainly the form that Wolves are showing, particularly Sam Masters and Steve Worrell together. I can't say they're unbeaten, but they're not far off it. And when they're riding together and on form, they're very hard to get past, especially around Monmore.
Yeah, very good team. Wolves, especially at home. I can't see him dropping many points at home this season, so I think, Bellevue will give them a tough test, but I think Wolves will be confident going there to taking the win, and they'll be wanting to stop Bellevue taking a point. So, across then the two meetings they'll be even. So, that's how I kind of look at it, anyways. The two meetings together. So. We sort of drew with Bellevue, if you like, over the course of 2 meetings, and managed to beat Wolverhampton and King's Lynn. So, if Wolves stop Bellevue getting a point there on Monday, I think Pete will be happy with that.
So, turn our attention to the Championship for a bit. Obviously, there's no reason why you would have an intimate knowledge of everything that's going on in the Championship, but your riders, many of them do double up in that league. Of course, Danny King, your captain, is also captain at the Poole Pirates, who obviously one of the strongest teams in the league, but not quite as strong as Leicester at this moment in time. And do you keep up to date with what's happening in the Championship just for form purposes, to see how your riders are getting on there?
Yeah, more so that. Yeah, I keep an eye on the results, see how the boys doing, see how my mates are doing as well in some teams. And if they're not riding for me, checking up on people. And I know, obviously, Leicester won at Poole the other week. I think Danny had a shocker, and I think the track was wet, and they'd had wet weather, and kind of probably evened up a bit. But might have been a cup. I'm sure Poole won at Leicester maybe earlier on in the year, or certainly pushed them very close. So I think Poole look a very good team as well. They look a very good team again this year, as they always are to me. Leicester have certainly, since being in the Championship, have been one of the strongest teams year on year, and I think both of them will be certainly up there fighting in the semi-finals, finals of the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, Leicester have a commanding lead at the moment, a 15-point lead at the top of the table. They've ridden 4 more matches than Glasgow, who are in second place, and Poole, who are on the same amount of points as well. So there's still ground to be caught up with those matches in hand, but obviously, for the teams that finish in the top 2, they go straight through to the semi-finals. There's quarter-finals in the Championship because it's the top 6 that qualify there. And then, in contrast, down the bottom, we've got the Birmingham Brummies and Newcastle. Newcastle really struggling so far this season. They've got 3 points, which is just their solitary home win, which was against to be fair, a depleted Berwick Bandits side at the time, but it's really sort of never rains but it pours with Newcastle. They can't get the win. Riders still remaining injured, and they just don't seem to be able to pick the points up at the minute.
Nah, I think tough times really for Newcastle as a club, I think, at the moment. So hopefully they can turn it round, because this is a big city. We've got a speedway team there. You'd want a big speedway team in the city and well backed, and it's obviously been around a long time. But I think it's tough at the moment for everyone. Obviously, I think things didn't work out with Bradley at the start of the year. To bring in as the number 1, Starkey's been injured for most of the year, which we're injured or ill, or had no end of dramas. When he's been with us, he's been brilliant. But yeah, he's sort of not been there that much. So I'm sure that's affecting Newcastle. I think Newcastle and Birmingham kind of both are struggling, I suppose, results wise. and probably on a little bit of a less budget, or didn't get their riders sorted early enough, and with a bit of a rider shortage, they're picking up anyone then, and it's hard, and I think that's made them both probably a little bit weaker.
Well, more chat about the championship on the way in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear. We'll turn the spotlight on perhaps one of the unsung heroes, one of the rising stars of British Speedway, Jason Edwards, who's had a very busy time racing for his own team, the Redcar Bears, but also recently with the Edinburgh Monarchs and the Leicester Lions in the reserve berths there. He's sort of the guest in demand at the moment, and boy, is he delivering some big scores at the minute. So we'll hear from Jason Edwards on life guesting around British Speedway. We'll also hear from Joe Alcock reflecting on that crash that he had a couple of weeks ago. It was great to see him back in the pits at Newcastle at the weekend, and his plans on his recovery from that big injury. All to come here on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. I'm Ian Brannan. My special guest in this episode is the Ipswich team manager, Ritchie Hawkins. We're going to continue talking about the championship now, and particularly Leicester. They've had a very busy week. First of all, they ended that unbeaten run, 23-match unbeaten run for Poole Pirates at home at Wimborne Road, with Leicester getting the victory. Last heat decider, 47-43, and the Lions then at that point moving 8 points clear at the top of the championship. It was their 7th win in succession. They then followed that up with a victory over Plymouth at the Paul Chapman & Sons Arena on Saturday, with Leicester then extending their championship lead to 11 points, beating Plymouth 48-41. The Lions at that point then winning 8 successive league matches. And then they raced against Newcastle, and fair to say it was an absolute mauling for the Diamonds at the hands of the Lions. And we'll hear from Stuart Dixon on that in just a few moments' time. We're going to hear from Garry May, though. Garry May, the team boss at Plymouth. Plymouth have had a good season, certainly a lot of home strength, maybe not so good away from home, but that's Speedway generally, isn't it, Ritchie? But at home, they've had a great season, have Plymouth, spearheaded in no small part by Ben Barker, one of your riders as well. And that Coliseum Stadium, the track there at Plymouth, it's a real trick track. It's a fun track, and certainly giving them no small amount of home track advantage.
Yeah, well, it is a unique track. One I liked it. I used to like going there, and it was a fun track to race on. But yeah, if the home team's got it dialed in, got something working, they'll be very confident. And I think somewhere you probably have got home track advantage. So kind of Ben's flying around Plymouth, and we're trying to replicate that form for us at Ipswich. But yeah, he's done a lot of laps around there, and you can obviously see, the guys that are experienced around that track, and are obviously making that pay for them, and probably one of Plymouth's best seasons so far for a long time, I would have thought.
Well, in the clash at the Paul Chapman & Sons Arena, you have to say that Plymouth ran Leicester fairly close. It's a circuit that many have struggled with. 48-41 the final score in favour of the Lions. But both sides saw a rider withdrawn. Leicester's Connor Mountain looped at the start in Heat 1. Plymouth's Harry McGurk crashed heavily in Heat 2. Neither took any further part. Nick Morris scored 14 for the Lions, dropping his only point to the guest Scott Nichols in Heat 13, whilst reserve Dan Thompson scored 10. We're going to hear from the Plymouth team manager right now, Garry May, who's been reflecting on that. It was a hard-fought match, 48-41 at the Paul Chapman & Sons Arena. He's been speaking to Dave Rowe.
Yeah, we rode really well today. We matched them, just our reserve, really. But he tried his heart out. Having 7 rides, he still tried. But Leicester's a place hard to come to. He could get anything done. I didn't get a point. But, I'm glad the way we rode, and that maybe over 2 legs, things could happen. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it was 60-30, wasn't it, at Plymouth between you earlier in the season? I'm not saying that will happen again, but you're so strong at home that it must be encouraging. Yeah, encouraging. We beat them 60-30. It's quite easy, but it's another day and another thing. But then we got to come back here again, But no, I thought my boys rode well tonight. And, just that little bit of reserve. And, he tried hard. He was in scoring positions, and we could have took a point, But,
It was really good meeting. Fantastic.
What's the update on Harry McGurk? What's he done?
He just split his lip and a bit in his mouth, but he was a bit shaken up. It was a big crash, so hopefully he'll be back for Birmingham on Wednesday, where we go again, and that's a must-win situation.
Yeah. Funny thing was, of course, you were 7 points down, ended up getting a 4-2 in Heat 13, where maybe you might not quite have wanted it.
Yeah, I know. And I said to Stuart afterwards, a good little move that tell Carl Howarth to come last, and it was a good move, but because otherwise I would have come back with all 8-14 with Scotty at attack sub. But no, it was a good move, and that's why he's one of the top managers. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was good, but I'll match him for that. You know what I mean?
Look forward to that. Cheers, Gary. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, well, it was a busy week, as I mentioned, for Stuart Dixon, and Leicester then followed that victory against Plymouth up on the Saturday with a record-breaking win on the Sunday. Leicester Heat leaders Ritchie Worrell, Kyle Howarth and Nick Morris all scoring maximums in their 62-28 romp at Newcastle. The Lions' club record away win, and it was the second time in successive home fixtures that the Diamonds have conceded 62 points. The visitors also dominated at reserve with Dan Thompson scoring 10+1 and guest Jason Edwards with 10+5, unbeaten by a Newcastle rider until he appeared in Heat 15. James Wright scored 11 for the hosts. Well, let's hear from Stuart Dixon right now, and one of the men who scored a maximum in that fixture against Newcastle, Kyle Howarth, chatting with Hayley Bromley from the British Speedway Network.
Steady night's work. We can't complain with that, but this is what we've come to do, and like I said at the start of the interview, even though we know Newcastle are a bit weaker in places, we don't take it for granted, and we come here to win, and from Heat 1 to 15, and that's what we did.
You certainly did. I mean, Stuart, like you say, your boys knew they have a job to do, even though they were, pretty much blazing away with it after 4 races. You can't be complacent in these situations because there's nothing more dangerous than a wounded team. They have a tendency to bite back. But again, your boys have delivered and then some.
Yeah, we had a serious team talk. It was utmost respect for Newcastle before the meeting. Kyle will testify to that. We had a serious chat on the track walk. We lost here last season, which hurt us. We had a very good season last season, so it shows you it can happen in Speedway. But we were thoroughly professional today. We were ruthless, and we got the job done. And as you say, you mentioned the maximums for the riders, and it was a good solid team effort from us. Obviously, we know Newcastle's got problems, but I'll reiterate, our job is to make sure Leicester are doing their job, and we've done it today in a very professional manner. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you've got to focus on number one when you're in this league. It is a ruthless league, not just yourselves out there looking for glory. Pool Pirates wanting to defend their title. There's plenty of other teams with a lot of ambition. So, like you say, very competitive from start to finish this year.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's the top 2 spots up for grabs, and then you've got the other 4 places for the top 6. So. It's you've got to maximise the points. Other teams, no offence, will target probably Newcastle for 3-4 points when they're coming here. You've got to make hay when the sun shines, as they say. We've went on a good run. We've picked up a lot of points, as you mentioned, in the last 8 or 9 days. We've got a wee break now. It's important that we finish that wee run with another victory today. We can dust ourselves down. I know the guys have got National League meetings and Premiership meetings, but from a Lions point of view, which is my main focus, I can just watch the guys on updates. Hopefully they come through, and then we get ready for our next set of matches coming up again in 12 days' time. Yeah.
And that next fixture for Leicester Lions is away at Ashfield versus the Glasgow Tigers. How pivotal that one could be, but that's going to be on the 24th of June, so a little time to wait there. As Stuart was mentioning, they do have a little bit of break in fixtures at the moment. One rider who has had a rich vein of form at the moment, and he was racing for Leicester against the Newcastle Diamonds on Sunday, but he was also in action for the Edinburgh Monarchs versus the Birmingham Brummies the other day as well, and he's had a busy time generally in British Speedway over the past couple of weeks, is Jason Edwards, one of the rising stars of British Speedway, who certainly finds himself as a man in demand at the moment in those reserve berths with some guest bookings. So he caught up with Jason, and here he is speaking with Ryan Guest.
2022 so far, certainly been a big year of improvement from yourself as well.
Yeah, I said earlier, and it's just nice because it's the most I've ever ridden the bike. Do you know what I mean? I'm obviously in Mildnall meetings, Redcar meetings, and I'm doing a bit in that under 24 league, and yeah, it's brilliant because near enough every other day, sometimes on the trot, it is riding my bike, and that's the coolest thing, and it's kind of showing because I'm just getting a little bit better, and it's nice because although I'm having 7 rides a lot and everything, it's consistently getting better. Do you know what I mean? It's not just a good score then a low score, and So that's the biggest thing I'm happy with, and yeah, just to start some first bends. I mean, this league is they're good at that, and yeah, I'm starting to mix it up.
Not only the regular guaranteed meetings that you've got, certainly with the average you're currently on, picking up a lot of guest bookings in the Championship as well. We've seen you have a couple for Edinburgh, one for Leicester as well, hitting some big points down at reserves for these other Championship teams as well.
Yeah, well, my average is kind of, I don't know what it is, but it's kind of not an unexistent average type thing for me. It's brilliant because I've just got to milk it while I can and get as many meetings as I can, because everyone needs a 6 and 7, and yeah, I'm never going to turn them down because I want to keep riding. And even just for like when Redcar come back later in the year, I'm getting practice everywhere, and it's nice because I'm like Berwick, I'm near enough there 4 weeks in a row. Do you know what I mean? And to go with Berwick every week and get a little bit better, that's ideal. So that's the best thing, really.
Yeah, from a Redcar perspective as well, certainly can't complain too much with how things have been going with yourself for the Bears.
Yeah, no, I can't fault the whole club and everything, because just everything is for Speedway, and yeah, just the help and support they're giving to everyone. And yeah, it is one of the best clubs in British Speedway, and it's pretty cool to all be part of. And just to ride, I know it's a little distance for us from Essex, but it's a brilliant track to turn up to every week.
Yeah, from your own individual point of view as well, obviously through the Rising Star campaign, and obviously growing from the National League a couple of years ago, there was a lot of hype about yourself, and that with it brings its own pressures, but nevertheless you've always kept your feet on the ground, and like you say, it is that constant improvement, and to be seeing that is one thing in itself.
Yeah, and that's kind of, you can kind of go National League and get quite high up quickly, but this is where the Championship, they're just at next level, and it's like you're racing people that are in the top league every week, and yeah, it's mixing it with them and then trying to beat them and then trying to do that on a regular basis. And yeah, like I say, even just guesting for different teams, like even for like Edinburgh, Sam and Josh and people like that, they're good old riders, and I only just use them as examples because just getting on the track walk when they're discussing stuff, it opens your eyes to different things. And yeah, you got to try and take as much of it as you can and ignore some bits and take as much of others as you can.
Yeah, there's Jason Edwards, and putting in some big performances, and always with a smile on his face as well when you see him around the pits, and best of luck to him. Oxford have signed Aaron Summers as injury cover for Jack Thomas, who broke both wrists in a crash at Kings Lynn on Thursday. Experienced Australian racer Summers announced his retirement at the end of 2021 season with Berwick, but he's now agreed to make a comeback with the Cowley club. Obviously, there's a link between Berwick and Oxford, with the Courtneys being involved, so maybe a natural progression, you would think, if anybody is going to make a comeback. But great to see Aaron Summers back in British Speedway, Ritchie.
Yeah, obviously we need riders back, and great to have Spud back. He's I was speaking to Cam yesterday, and he said that Aaron's coming back and coming in to replace Jack at Oxford. So he feels that's made that could be a very good signing, and Oxford could be very strong, because if he comes back anyway, getting to where he was sort of last year, he's not had that long out, so hopefully it shouldn't affect him too much. They'll be a very strong side as well, Oxford, and I think Oxford will make changes until while they can get into the playoffs, will make changes to make themselves real strong, to try and make sure they're going in a position to be able to challenge for the title at the end of the year. But yeah, honest pro Aaron, and very, very good, solid professional. So yeah, good to have him back.
On the subject of Oxford in general, quite a few links between Ipswich and Oxford, with Troy Batchelor for one, Ipswich legend Scott Nichols as being another, and of course Jason Crump, who was with the Witches last season, now the team manager. Oxford are very much in the hunt for one of the playoff places in their first season back in British Speedway. Tell us about making the move from being a rider to being a team manager, because we spoke to Jason Crump a few weeks ago, and he was saying it's a little bit strange perhaps when you're going on the track walk, and then instead of going to the dressing room to get your gear on, actually you're just picking your programme up and waiting for the meeting to start. It's a different situation, but he seems to be coping pretty well.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Justin. He's got so much knowledge, Crumpy, that he can pass on to the riders. For the young riders in that team, it'll be invaluable what they can learn off him and tap into his knowledge and help him. And then I know Shock is there with him as well, helping him maybe, on the team managing front as well. So I went over to Oxford. I went to one of their first meetings. Thought it was a brilliant setup. Thought Jamie's done a great job. Had a great night, and it's awesome to see him back. And hopefully we could see some more come back in the future, and we can get some more clubs back going. And But yeah, certainly fantastic to see the crowds doing well there. So if Oxford can be successful as a team, that'll only help as well.
Yeah, and an area of the country that's been crying out for Speedway to come back, and it has done. And I think Oxford in general is a great club to go and visit if you're in the area for whatever reason, on holidays, perhaps with those coming up in the next couple of months or so. Factor in a trip to Oxford, because you're going to have a great night out, I can tell you that. And of course, the Championship Pairs meeting will be there as well, the night before the Cardiff Grand Prix. So if that's on your way, you want to definitely try and get yourself a ticket for that, because that'll be a good meeting as well. Some other news from around British Speedway then. Berwick have made some team changes as well. They've snapped up rising Danish star Jonas Knudsen and also added Nathan Stoneman to their side, who's made the move from Oxford. He's sort of been deputising at reserve at Oxford for the last few weeks or so, whilst Josh McDonald was out. He's made the move now up to Berwick, and Jonas Knudsen is one of the SGP2 riders, and he actually made it to the semi-finals of the first round in Prague last month. So exciting to see some upcoming Danish talents into British Speedway once again, Ritchie.
Yeah, certainly did well, in the F2. Sort of speed, like the Speedway GP2, and did great. So it's nice to see. I think that's what we need. That's kind of not what we've had for the last quite a few number of years now, where you get the young. I know it's hard for the Swedes, certainly at Ipswich with Thursday nights, but maybe young Danes and Swedes, they've kind of not been coming to England. They go, and everyone goes and tries to make it in Poland straight away. And we've only really still had the Aussies and a few Americans coming over, but we need to be getting the Scandinavians back. That'd be great. Some extra riders in the league, and hopefully things will work well for him at Berwick. I think also with that, I think it's a big expense to bring the riders over now, which probably clubs haven't got the money or the funds to be bringing riders over, and it's not so easy since we left the EU either. So there's different factors in it, but I think I don't know the situation with Carl, but obviously he's a very talented young rider, so it'd be nice to see him come back and come back somewhere else and carry on his progression and sort of click in. I think, I know at times I've seen him racing sort of at Workington or when he come in very young. So it's hard, it's hard for the kids with the confidence, if they get the confidence not to carry on and be mentally strong enough to carry on, because Speedway is it's a very tough game, and that's what you kind of trying to explain it to them all. It is hard, and I think it's how you take them knocks and come back from them that they'll see you progressing your career or not.
And we've seen it many times, of course, in the past, but racing in British Speedway for international riders, certainly the ones that want to make it up the ladder, it's important, isn't it? Because the tracks in our country are much different to many of the others that you might find across the continent.
I think it will make you come into England a much more rounded Speedway rider than obviously the Poles do Poland, but I think you even see when a long time, like when Golob come over, I think that made him a better Speedway rider overall. His years he got to do in England, and that would have helped him in his sort of world title challenges then. I don't think that would be any different now, but I just think the financial rewards in Poland for the top boys are so big that kind of England gets left out. But overall, I think it's probably your best Speedway education if you can get to England and ride and race over here. It'd be great for them, and nice to hopefully it can become a trend again, really.
All right, let's have a look at the fixtures then for the week ahead across British Speedway, and hopefully you can get along to as many of these matches as possible. Wednesday at Perry Bar, the Birmingham Brummies are back in action against the Plymouth Gladiators. That gets underway at 7:30. Then on Thursday, it's the big one at your place, Ritchie. Foxhall Stadium, Ipswich, for round 2 of the Premiership Pairs. Some of the best riders in the Premiership League all going head-to-head throughout the course of that. 17 heats in total. We're promised the weather's going to be fantastic. But Ritchie, give us the big sell then. Go on then. Get down to Foxhall on Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be one of the best meetings you've seen at Ipswich for a long time. So hopefully we can get everyone down there. Weather's good. Track's been great. Very fair racing, and certainly top lineup, and it's big crowd, and come and see Jason Doyle doing his stuff, because it's certainly a joy to watch at the moment.
And then on Friday night, a couple of fixtures that can have a bearing at the top of the Championship. Glasgow hosting Oxford, of course, with Aaron Summers now in their ranks as well, and he certainly knows his way around Ashfield, that's for sure. And then at Scunthorpe, they're hosting the Poole Pirates, and Scunthorpe not always the easiest place to go, and again, one of those fixtures that maybe has all the ingredients for a cup shock.
No, it can be a tough place to go. Let's kind of see how Rob gets the track set up, and but I'm sure Paul will be going there believing they can win that meeting. So that could be another close contest, and a track that can produce terrific racing.
Couple of National League fixtures taking place on Saturday at Berwick. It's Berwick versus Mildenhall, and then also Leicester versus Kent in the National League. Both of those getting underway at 7. And speaking of Mildenhall, on Sunday, just the one fixture across Great Britain, and that is at Mildenhall. It's a special one as well. The Danny Ayres Memorial. It's been titled Danny's Day. Starts at 2 o'clock, and the lineup includes Max Clegg, Ben Barker, Jake Allen, Richard Lawson, Cameron Heaps, James Shanes, Ben Morley, Connor Coles, Connor Mountain, Jacob Hook, James Wright, Alfie Botel, Kai Thompson, Danny King, George Congreve and Zane Kennedy. So a good lineup, and all for a very important cause, of course. And Ritchie, Danny Ayres, a rider that you knew well, and an event very close to your heart.
Yeah, I'll be going myself. Great lineup. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, and I hope everyone comes out and backs it. We all miss Danny so much, and I wish we'd have had him over the last couple of seasons. We could have really done with Danny about, and he's big character. I think the sport misses him terribly, and we certainly do, and on a personal level as well. And we'll hope it's a joyous day and a big crowd. Weather looks great down Mildenhall. They've got a great lineup, and I hope everyone comes out and backs it, because I think it'd be great for his family, and something we can all show our appreciation for what he did in relative terms. Ended up a short career really in the sport, a lot shorter than it should have been.
So that's Mildenhall, 2 o'clock for Danny Ayres Memorial, Danny's Day at Mildenhall, Sunday 19th of June, which is also Father's Day as well. Monday, back to the East of England Arena. Short hop for you, Ritchie, with your team heading to your home patch, Peterborough versus Ipswich, starting at 7:30.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think also at Peterborough, I believe we're going to have a junior match afterwards. So, some extra racing. I hope everyone stays behind and watches that, and it'd be lovely to have two Ipswich wins out of 2.
So Peterborough versus Ipswich, and another chance for Wolves and Bellevue to clash once again. Can Bellevue make it 2 out of 2 over the course of a week or so as they meet at Monmore this time? Both of those Premiership fixtures at 7:30 on Monday. On Tuesday, it'll be Plymouth versus Newcastle at the Coliseum, and that's at 7 o'clock. And those are your fixtures for the next 7 days. Before we go, one last interview to bring you, and it's Joe Alcock, who was present in the pits at the match at the weekend between Newcastle and Leicester. Of course, Joe was involved with Leicester and Scunthorpe when he had this big crash at the Eddie Wright Raceway a couple of weeks ago. And the air ambulance was called. I think that was purely because of the medic that was in the area. Anyway, I'll let Joe tell you the story himself, because he's been speaking to Hayley Bromley from the British Speedway Network about that crash and about his treatment and his road to recovery since, and details of when he might be looking to get back on a bike again. Here's Joe Alcock.
Yeah, it's good to be out and about. I want the best day. I got the guest booking, and I thought, I'll go and have some fun and just see how we'll go again in the Championship. And then I was going round, I think it was the 3rd lap, and I just got some drive, and it just spat me off, and then I just went sliding into the fence, and I'm standing here like this now. I've had to have a rod put through my femur, and then I've also fractured my T10 in my back. And then I've done some ligament damage in my knee. I think it's quite numb at the minute still. So I'm a bit battered and bruised, but I'll be all right.
It's always frightening, isn't it, when they call for the helicopter, because generally that is a real medical emergency. So, like I said, it was fantastic to have you with us and just to see that it, although serious, not as serious as it could have been.
Yeah, I think the reason that they come along was because they were like the closest paramedic that was there that could come and assess me. I mean, they had the one at the track, but I think they needed someone else to come and have a look, and that was the closest. So I didn't get a ride in the air ambulance, but yeah, it was a relief really, because obviously, like you say, when you're in an air ambulance, you're pretty stuffed.
Yeah, and just looking forward now, obviously too soon to expect you to tell us when you'd be back on a bike, certainly not this season, but has this dampened your passion for the sport, or do you see yourself back on a bike in the next few months?
Well, it's funny, I had this conversation with my mum on the way up, that I'm standing here like this, but I couldn't wait to come here today and have a watch and be around it all again. But I'm hoping, to be honest, to be back on a bike towards September time, so I might just see how that goes. But yeah, it's just a rough date at the minute. But yeah, I've enjoyed my time down at Kent. It's been amazing really this year. They've done a really good job as well to get it all back together there.
Can we expect to see more of you around the country at meetings like this? Are you going to keep your hand in with what's going on in the sport?
Yeah, I'm going Kent at Leicester next Saturday, so I'll go see the boys there, and then I'll go down to Kent for the next meeting and show my face and say thank you to the fans really, because they've helped me out a lot.
So there's Joe Alcock. Great to hear from him and see him around the pits at Newcastle last weekend, and he's going to be visiting a few other tracks over the course of the weeks and months while his recovery continues, of course. He's a long way from getting back on a bike at this moment in time, but great to hear, Ritchie Hawkins, that he's targeting before the end of the season to get back on board a bike again, and that's important for him to have something to aim for, but also important to hear that his confidence hasn't been knocked, and he wants to get back out there as soon as possible.
Yeah, obviously, all the young. We've had a few kids, now with some bad injuries this year, and hopefully they all, they can all come back stronger. And it is part of the sport. I know how hard it is when you've had big injuries and to come back, and it does take time. But they've got different leagues and opportunities they can race in, get the confidence back up and get going. And it'd be nice to see them all back and racing soon. But yeah, it's kind of a part of the sport we have to deal with, and it does. If you can come back, it will make you mentally stronger. And I think some of the injuries I had and the recovery process and going through a year of like rehab and stuff, and that it makes you stronger to deal with things that what you're faced with in life. Outside Speedway, life could be tough as well as Speedway, and you can look back on them and think if you come back from that sort of thing, you can sort of deal with a lot. So yeah, make them stronger people, and but hopefully they can come back strong and confidence in their racing as well.
Well, it's been great speaking with you in this episode this week. I know a lot of people have enjoyed hearing from you as well. Ritchie Hawkins, thanks very much for joining us, and good luck with your week. I know it's going to be a busy one.
Yeah, always busy. Speedway season. So lots of good fun, and yeah, hope everyone has a great week, and thanks very much for having me.
Ritchie Hawkins, team manager at the Ipswich Witches, our guest this week on No Breaks, No Fear. And you can help Ritchie's busy week out by turning up to the Premiership Pairs at Foxhall. A great lineup, just to run through it again. Mate Zagar, Brady Kurtz and Tom Brennan for Bellevue. Ipswich with Jason Doyle, Troy Batchelor and Daniel Hume. Kings Lynn with Richard Lawson, Josh Pickering and Jake Mulford. Peterborough have got Chris Harris, Hans Anderson and Jordan Jenkins. Sheffield with Adam Ellis, Tobias Mujalak and Connor Mountain. And Wolverhampton with Sam Masters, Ryan Douglas and Leon Flint. Who will finish top of the pile at the end of that one? Get down there and check it out yourself. That's Thursday night, 7:30 at Foxhall. A fantastic lineup. And if you're not able to make it, or you're somewhere else in the world, then you can watch on British Speedway Network as well. watch.britishspeedway.co.uk for all the details on that. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of No Breaks, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast. My thanks to a few people who have helped make it happen. Ryan Guest, Dave Rowe, Lee Wild, Phil Lanning, Joe Appleton, BSN, Clean Cut Sports, Mike Taylor. I think that's everybody. And of course you for listening as well. We will be back next Wednesday morning. Keep up to date with everything happening across British Speedway on our social media pages. Wherever you may be heading, get all the updates. If there's any changes to the fixtures, rain-offs, or anything like that, we'll always let you know as soon as we know. on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And all of the news in one place, of course, at britishspeedway.co.uk. And we'll be back next Wednesday, rounding up everything that's going to happen over the course of the next 7 days, not least all that action at Foxhall this Thursday in the Premiership Pairs, and the Premiership meetings, of course, next Monday, and everything else from the Championship and National League and whatever else may occur as well. Join us next week for the next episode of No Breaks, No Fear. Have a good one.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Today, we discuss Miro. Listen, when it comes to running client workshops, the dream, of course, is to get those creative juices flowing, right? But typically what ends up happening is thousands of hours get wasted because of poorly facilitated meetings. So I have Maya with me today. She's a consultant who runs Fortune 100 workshops, from leadership training to team building, and she has the insider tip on what makes things work. Maya?
Thank you, Jason. I've been doing this a long time. My number one tip is to bring everyone into that visual collaboration platform. So personally, I use Miro, and it's completely changed how I interact with the room. You have to give people a way to feel like they're in the room even when they're not. That's something you can do easily in Miro. Otherwise, they've seen the same slides and format 1,000 times.
Falling asleep, eyes glazing over, yawns, all that.
Exactly. When people follow me on the Miro board, everyone is literally going on a journey with me. We're adding thoughts, we're reacting, and we're voting for the best ideas. It's great.
Connective magic. I like it. That's MIRO.com.